President-elect Joe Biden is forging ahead with the White House transition despite facing steep hurdles from the Trump administration. He's been holding major meetings all week with national security experts and healthcare officials on the coronavirus pandemic. However, President Trump is blocking Biden's team from accessing crucial federal resources needed to help the transition and the country move forward. President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, is now speaking out about this, urging the administration and top Republicans to acknowledge the election results and stand down on baseless voter fraud claims. Bolton has long been critical of the president, and now he's going after Republicans for refusing to accept Mr. Biden's projected victory.
I think it's very important for leaders of the Republican Party to explain to our voters, who are not as stupid as the Democrats think, that in fact Trump has lost the election and that his claims of election fraud are baseless.
President Trump fired back by tweeting, quote, "John Bolton was one of the dumbest people in government that I've had the pleasure," in quotes, to work with. A sullen, dull, and quiet guy, he added nothing to national security except, gee, let's go to war. Also, illegally released much classified information, a real dope. That's from the president. So, Ambassador John Bolton is joining us now to talk more about what is going on now. So, Ambassador, I want to talk to you about the implications of this slow rolling of the transition. But before we get to that, I have a few questions about what we're witnessing now. The hundreds of lawsuits put forward by the Trump campaign, Rudy Giuliani's sort of scary, comical slideshow, the floating of these conspiracy theories. Many have said that what the president is trying to do is overturn the results of the election. But if that's the case, he's not doing a very good job because all of his lawsuits are getting thrown out. I want to ask you, what do you think the president is really trying to do with all of this?
Well, the short answer is he doesn't know. He never does. He just tries a bunch of different things to see what will happen. He does not think strategically. He doesn't have a basic philosophy. This is one reason why we didn't have a coherent foreign policy. But if I may, I think it's certainly the case that 2.5 weeks after the election, we have seen that he doesn't have any valid legal theories that can really overturn the election. He has no evidence. Yesterday's press conference was certainly about as low as you can go. But honestly, I think now, with all due respect, we're missing the point by talking about the lack of legal theory or the lack of evidence or honestly, even the delay in the transition. What is about to happen at the White House, where the president has called the Republican majority leaders of both the Michigan House and the Michigan Senate to meet with him, is the thing that I think is the most dangerous thing that's happened so far. I've just tweeted on this that the honor and integrity of the Republican Party now rest on the shoulders of these two Michigan legislative leaders. Because the president's going to try and squeeze them. And he's going to try and squeeze others if he succeeds with these two gentlemen, whom I've never met. I don't know. I hope that they will pass this test of character and tell the president to butt out, basically. But we're past the point of legal theories and evidence, all that technical stuff. We're down to brute political force. I'm a veteran. I was a veteran for 33 days of the Florida recount in 2000. People may recall that the governor of Florida was Jeb Bush, who was the brother of the president of the candidate of the Republican Party, the president-elect, as we saw him then. And I can tell you that Jim Baker and the head of the Republican recount team in Florida and everybody else tiptoed around, trying not to do anything that anyone could consider untoward, to take advantage of the fact you had two brothers involved in this. Now, I'm not saying our record was perfect, although I've never heard anybody say that undue political influence was applied or anything else. We fought the Florida recount by the book, and I'm proud to say we won, but we won it honestly. What's happening now, with the prospect that we're not going to stop in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, perhaps other states as well, Wisconsin. The president could be calling Republican legislators and others to the White House the same way. This has gone beyond legal challenges now, and it's important that Republicans at all levels, state, county, election boards, legislators, whomever they may be, have got to resist this political pressure. Unless there's evidence the election was tampered with or there was sufficient fraud to overturn the results, that's it. The voters get to decide. And, you know, it's unfair in a sense that all this pressure is being applied to state and local Republican officials by the President of the United States. Let's have Republican leaders in Washington stand up and say, this is simply unacceptable.
Moving forward from this, though, I'm going to just give you a couple of polls out there. YouGov and The Economist did a poll. 86% of Republicans who voted for the president do not believe that Joe Biden's win was legitimate. Politico and Morning Consult also did a poll. 70% of Republicans don't believe that the 2020 election was free and fair. Do you think the damage that is being done right now will be long-lasting, will be permanent?
Well, I think it's important for Republican leaders to act now to prevent this damage from becoming lasting. And you'll forgive me if I say after their record in the 2020 election, what polls say doesn't necessarily persuade me that they've accurately reflected the opinions of the population they're sampling. But I think what is happening is that right now you've got Donald Trump unanswered in the Republican space saying, I was robbed, the election is a fraud, it's being stolen from me. And you don't have enough Republican leaders standing up and saying, that's nonsense. Some Republican leaders have said that. Many more have said, well, he's entitled to all his legal remedies, and he was. But they said, we want to see the evidence, which we should, and we haven't. And we're now 2.5 weeks in. We've got the Electoral College scheduled to meet on December the 14th. The Safe Harbor Day is December the 8th. There isn't time left here for Trump to prove a legal case, and I think he now knows that. So let's dispense with the fiction that he's attending to his legal formalities. I think he's well past that.
Ambassador Bolton, it's Vladimir Duthiers here. So let me ask you another question about what we are discussing here. In this editorial that you wrote in the Washington Post, you say coddling proponents plead that an enraged Trump will jeopardize the chances of victory in the Georgia runoffs. But that is only true if party leaders do not speak up, explaining to voters what the real facts are. So far, we've really only heard from Senator Mitt Romney, and he really put it out there, a very strongly worded statement that the President of the United States is trying to subvert the will of the people. We've heard a less strongly worded statement from Senator Ben Sasse and from Joni Ernst. But why aren't we hearing more from Republicans, from leaders like Mitch McConnell? Why are they so silent in the face of this? I mean, you know, we've had debates in this country where people get on the floor of the United States Senate or the halls of Congress and they talk about tyranny when it comes to healthcare in America or immigration. And here we are looking at a situation where the President of the United States is about to today exert pressure on local officials in a state that he did not win. The president-elect won 150,000 plus votes in the state of Michigan, and we're not hearing from these leaders. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, I want to say Adam Kinzinger, congressman from Illinois, has also spoken up. This is like the Academy Awards. You don't want to leave anybody out. And I think more are.
Good point.
And I think more, thank you, I think more will. And so really my purpose is to make it clear in the case of Georgia, for example, where I very strongly want to see both Republican candidates win. I want to see as big a Republican majority in the Senate as we can get. And I would be the last person who would want to do anything to jeopardize Republican chances in that January 5th runoff. My point is precisely that we are endangering our chances when we don't speak the truth to our own voters. I think they can handle it. Right now, they're not getting the truth, and they're only getting it from one source. If I may say respectfully to CBS, the fact that the liberal mass media are saying Trump's not telling the truth isn't going to impress many people on the Republican side in Georgia. Republican leaders speaking out, I think, could make a big difference. And I will say, I think the time is right now.
And I know you have a heart out, Ambassador Bolton, but I just got to ask you about that last point that you made. It's hard when news organizations and journalists are trying to point an audience, readers, to the facts. But the GOP, the Twitter account of the GOP, wrote this in a tweet yesterday: President Trump won by a landslide. To me, it strikes me that that's the moment where the GOP sort of goes off the edge, and it's not the party that you're a member of, or at least that you have been a member of for most of your life.
Well, remember, the RNC, which I assume controls that account, is controlled by Donald Trump. I do not think this is yet a Republican Party problem. I think it is a Donald Trump problem. But that's why it's critical for Republican leaders to speak out and make that clear. And I think the sooner we do it, the sooner the Trump problem begins to disappear.
All right, Ambassador John Bolton, happy birthday, sir. We understand it's your birthday today.
Yes.
It is. Me and Joe Biden. What else can I say?
You finally align in one way with the president-elect. It's good to know. You're the same zodiac sign. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bolton. Appreciate it.
Thank you.